It's NiftyBC here. We are back with another tutorial. This time we are heading into the 3D realm of Blender. So if you don't have Blender already, guys, go to blender.org and you'll be able to download it for free. It is an amazing 3D program that I have been using for quite some time. And we're going to dive into it because I put up a poll and everyone seemed to want to learn some 3D stuff. So I was like, how can I approach this? So I'm going to first go over a quick setup tutorial, which we'll go through really quickly. And then we're going to go into a really easy beginner tutorial that actually you could use for your NFTs, which I think will be really fun and interesting. So first, let's get to the setup. And so let's open up Blender, and I'll show you how to set it up the way I usually work. This is not by any means the end all, guys. This is just how I work. It just makes me get through stuff a little bit faster. It's able to model stuff more in a low poly fashion. So this is just for beginners. And it's just there just kind of get you warmed up on how to build something, light it, and then actually render it, all the way through. So anyway, but first let's get to the setup. So hit the like and subscribe, guys, if you could, so that way I know what kind of content you like. And let's hop over to Blender. All right. All right, guys, so here we are in Blender. If you are new to the program, I know it looks intimidating when you first walk in here. We've all been there, so don't be worried. We're going to walk you through all of this. You just need to know what to use. That would be my first piece of advice when getting into 3D, and especially with Blender. Just figure out what you need to get going, and then you can learn as you kind of go from there and kind of build on your base. But I'm going to show you the basics here, guys, to get going. First, let's work on some basic movements. Down here on the bottom left, you'll see my mouse, so you'll be able to see what I'm doing over here. So the first thing to do is select things. So to select, you just left mouse click. So there I'm selecting a cube. I can select the camera. I can select the pinpoint light that opens up when you open up Blender. I'm going to go back over here to the cube. Now, what you can also do is move, rotate, and scale. And the way you do that is for move, you use G. I know that seems counterintuitive, but G is how you move things around. So if you hit G, you'll be able to move your box around. If you hit S, you're going to be able to scale. Okay, and if you hit R, you're going to be able to rotate. Okay, so let me just go back to the beginning here. Now, another thing you can do is hold things to an axis. So let's go back to G, which is the move tool. So hit G, and then this time hit X. And when you hit X, it only will move on the X axis. It won't move any other way. So that's a good way to keep things aligned. You do the same for the Y axis, or you can do the same for the Z axis, okay? So know that that's what you can do. You can do the same with the rotate and the scale. So let's go to rotate. If I go to rotate and then Y, it's only going to rotate on the Y axis. If I go RX, it's only going to rotate on the X axis. And if I go RZ, it's only going to rotate on the Z axis, okay? Now let's do scale, same thing, scale. Y, it's going to go out this way. If you go scale X, it's going to go this way. And if you go scale Z, it goes up and down. Okay, so there's your basics of how you're going to scale, rotate, and move things around that come in the program. So all you have to do is go up here to edit. Okay, go over to preferences. And it's going to pop up this ad. Go ahead and click on add-ons over here on the left, and you should get a menu of a ton of different add-ons. We're going to add on Auto Mirror, AUTO Mirror, and it should pop up right here. Just go ahead and click that on. Okay, now what that's going to allow us to do is when we're modeling, it will automatically mirror it for you, and it makes things much easier to get going with your modeling symmetrically, okay? Another thing we're going to do is loop tools, and that's L-O-O-P tools, and there it is right there. We're going to click that on as well. And another thing we want to do is images as planes. And there is another one right there, okay? So those ones are like usually my go-to plugins. There's other ones that we'll use later on down the road, but these ones will help us in the beginning. Okay, and the images of plane basically allows you to upload a bunch of images, and it brings them right in as planes. So you're able to add a lot of character to a scene really quickly. Okay, so after you do that, this little hamburger menu down here at the bottom, go ahead and save your preferences just for safety. And now we got that part set up. Now to access that stuff, we're going to go over here in a second, but I'm going to have you guys set up the screen differently. So it's going to allow you to get modeling and be able to kind of just get right into your creative side instead of always opening up this kind of generic plate, which kind of everyone always tells you to erase the cube. I'm going to tell you to keep the cube. I have a guy that I follow. Shout out to Emphysema. Not Emphysema. Shout out to Emphezia. He's I believe he's from Norway or Denmark. I'm not quite sure, but anyway, he's great. Anyway, and he turned me onto this kind of speed modeling way of kind of adding materials and building low poly really quickly, which is great for gaming and just I think low poly kind of looks cool. We're also going to do high poly as well, but I think low poly is a good way to start off for beginners because you can really learn the shapes. You want to kind of build in shapes, okay, and minimize the amount of you know, planes that are on your actual piece. You want to kind of keep that topology simple, you know, most of the time. So anyway, let's get to it. So you got your timeline right here. I do want to get rid of this light. So if you just left click that light and then hit X, it'll bring up this box that says delete. Yes, I want to delete it. Take rid of that. And also the camera. I'm going to do the same thing. X and delete. I'm going to keep the cube. We're keeping this cube. We're not getting rid of this guy. All right. But we are going to move some stuff around. So down here, usually you have your timeline down here. I'm going to switch this to our shader editor. Okay. And the way I do that, I click on this this button over here on the left, and you'll see down here it says shader editor. Go ahead and bring that up. It's going to be empty right now, but if I click that, you'll see that there is the material for this right now. Okay, that's what's on the actual cube at the moment. Okay, and we're going to get into this in about 2 seconds, but first we're going to set up the windows. So that's down there. So your shader editor's down here. Over here, if you go over to the edge, you'll see your mouse turn into this like double arrow. Now right click, and it'll ask you, do you want a vertical split or a horizontal split? I want a vertical split, and it allows me to bring out the window. This is what's really cool about Blender. You can completely customize your workspace, okay? So now I can adjust this how I want, you know, from here. And what I want to do in here is that I'm going to turn this into kind of my preview, okay? Up top, you're going to have a couple different previews. You have your wireframe. You have like your basic kind of modeling kind of look. You have like your kind of material render, and then you have your final render over here, okay? And what I'm going to do is leave this one on the final render, okay, at the moment. And right now it has scene lights and scene world on. We're going to go ahead and turn those off at the moment. And what it allows you to do is have this kind of HDRI. If you want to change the look of the HDRI, feel free. I like that one personally because it lets me see the edges while I'm modeling. As we start to do things, you'll see that this updates with what's going on over here. So it looks really cool, all right? For the time being, we don't need all this stuff in here because we're going to kind of be using this window to build everything. This one's just going to be a preview. So we're going to turn off the tool settings on this. And let's see, do we need that? I think we're actually going to do tool settings. No, I don't need that. I want to show the toolbar. There it is. That's the one I wanted to get rid of. Toolbar. All right. So now we got rid of the toolbar. And now we have this over here, but I want to split it one more time. So I'm going to go back here to the edge. And you'll see it double arrow. Right click. And this time I'm going to do a horizontal split on this side. And I click it. And there we go. I got another split. So now I have multiple spaces for me to kind of work and model. And down here, what I'm going to do is put the UV editor. Okay. Now this is going to be very important on how we're going to kind of be quickly making models and then coloring them as we're going, and it makes it so fast and easy. Okay, guys, so that's what we're going to do first. Okay, so let's go over here. Let's go there. Okay, I think we got everything off. I want to make sure there's no materials in here, right? Okay, so anyway, so we got this cube. Okay, so we don't want any materials on it. All right, so at first we start there. We're going to hit new. Okay, it's going to bring up down here. Okay, in our shader, we're going to work on our shader editor that we put down here below. This will bring up the basic color that it's going to be, all right? But what we're going to do is actually turn it into an image texture right off the bat, okay, by going over and clicking this yellow button next to base color. right? If you click that and go over to image texture, it's going to automatically add this this image texture node here to it. And what we can do from here is either here or over here, open. I can just hit open right here. I'm going to go find this. It's a palette basically that I'm using to quickly color things. So it's going to be in your the description for you to download, so you can just go ahead and follow along with that. And basically, I got that loaded in now, right? And when I go over here, right, and I go to this, what we're going to do is, as you can see, it's already updated over here. Let me kind of go in here a little bit more. Okay, as you can see, you see how it loaded onto, this is the UV editor, okay? Now the UVs are basically the faces of this piece right here, okay? And it's going to load in over here on top, okay? Now it automatically will do that just as a basic box setup. And this is why I kind of like it right off the bat. What I want you to do is in this big window, okay? If nothing's selected, hit A and everything will select here, okay? And as you go over to the UV editor, I want you to do the same thing. Hit A one more time. See how it's selected now, everything in the UVs, okay? Now what we're going to do is hit S for scale. We're going to scale this to 0, so it's just 1 point, okay? Hit S and then hit 0 and then hit enter, okay? Now you see this orange point right here? That's actually the entire color of this now. And I'll watch what I do now. If I hit G and I move it over, look at the color up above. You'll see that I can go find a color very easily by doing this, okay? So I'm going to go with that. That's what we're going to start with, okay? Now, if I hit Tab to go out of object mode, now we're in object mode, okay? Before we were in edit mode. So if you hit Tab, you go into edit mode, Tab to go into object mode, okay? Edit mode allows you to build things. Object mode is just kind of the object, okay? So if we want to start building stuff, we want to work in edit mode. But this is how we got going, okay? This is how we want to change. So if you want to change the color, you notice how like you can't see that yellow dot anymore down here. You would have to go into edit mode, which is Tab. You'll see those vertices kind of pop up. And now you can hit G and move this around to another color that you want. So let's say I want to make it red, okay? And then hit Tab to get out, and there you go. You got a red cube. Okay, so this is the first part. Okay, now we're just going to start off here. I'll go into more stuff later on where we'll do emissive colors as well, which is a really cool feature to do. But this will get us going in the beginning. So go ahead and download that palette, load in your shader editor just like this. Okay, and then we have this palette to kind of start off with. And you know, I might as well just show you the emission. Let's just show you the emission as well. So with this selected, go in here into your shader editor, click in anywhere out here to kind of deselect. Go ahead and select that image texture that you had here and hit Shift and D, and that's going to duplicate it. And we're going to drop it right here, but we're going to change this. So this time we're going to use the emission palette that I have also in the description, okay? And this one we're going to plug into the emission. So we take color and we're going to pop it right here into the emission. Okay. Now, what did that do? So this this particular palette on the right hand side now. So they're basically two palettes, the same colors. Okay. The difference is the right ones have emissive properties. And what do I mean by that? So if I tab back into there, right, you notice how over here there's kind of a actually, you know what? I'm on the wrong side. Let's do this. Wait, let's tab back out of there. Okay. So let's make sure that we're on the right one. There we go. Okay. There we go. That's better. Okay. So now that we're in here, make sure that we have the right one. We want to get the top one selected. So you notice that there was two there. I had this one selected. That's not what I want. I don't want, this is the emissive one. I want the full one, which is right here, open. And now this should work now. Okay. So as we now move this, see, I notice right now it's going to take the colors. Now watch when I go into the other side. Now it's starting to get emissive. And how do I turn that up? Well, let's leave that there. Okay. Now let's go back over here to the shader editor, right? And now let's put up that strength. Okay, let's go 50. I think 50 is pretty good. All right. Now, the reason you're not seeing a lot of bloom now is because we have to change stuff in the render settings as well. But first, get that set up. So you got your emission, set it to the strength about 50. That tends to work pretty good. And now over here on your render settings, okay, I haven't lost yet, I hope. Over here on the render settings, go ahead and click this little camera on the top. That is our main render settings, and we want it set to Eevee. We want our render area, we want to send that to 512 is what I'm going to render it at. That's the amount of samples. And I'm going to put 32 here for the viewport. It just gives it a little bit more pop, as they say. I want to click on ambient occlusion, and this is very important, hit the bloom. Now look at that. Boom, we are exploding with light. And now if I hit G over here, right, you'll see that if I go over here, it doesn't really miss that much. But over here, wow, what the light is going. I think I got to bring down the strength actually. So let's go back over here and let's go over to strength. And let's just go to 25. Okay, actually, I'm going to just go to 1. No, 1's too small. Let's go to 10. 10. All right, 10 looks good. All right, so we got a 10 on the emissive area, and now we are able to either color with light, right, on this side, or we go over here and you can just use regular colors, you know, and it'll be a little bit emissive here at some areas on some of these colors, but for the most part, you'll be able to just kind of get away with just getting a nice solid look on your piece, right? And so we're now going to kind of hop into the basics of modeling from here. But before we get going, I want you to save this. So kind of create a nice kind of setup here. I'm going to leave that there so you know that that's the color of this. It's already set up now, guys. You already set up your basic start point, okay? And we're going to leave the cube, and we'll explain why you want this in a second. So how do you save this? Go to File, go over here to Defaults, and I want you to hit, Save Startup File, okay? Oh, sorry about that. Save startup file. Yes, save it. So now every time you start up a new file, it's going to bring it up just like this. And this is a great way to start. So that way you can automatically just grab it, go right into edit mode. You can hit G. You can start off on a color that you want to use, and you can kind of go from there. Now, also, let's show you what else is cool about that. Right now, we're in the vertices mode of edit, okay? And you control that with the number 1 on the keyboard. If you hit number 2, it goes to the edges. So now I can select individual edges all around the cube. And if I hit 3, I can hit the faces. So now I can select the certain faces of the cube, okay? So again, 1 is for vertices, and I can just select each individual vertices that way. 2 is for edges. 3 is for faces, okay? Now, watch what I can do now. Now, because I have this selected, right? Now, what I can do is over here on the right, because everything's scaled into that one dot, I can hit G now and move this one over to, let's say, blue, right? Now, when I get out of edit mode by hitting Tab, look up here on the render. Just that face now is blue. And now you can kind of see of how we're going to be able to quickly go in here, hit edit. Let's change this top one to, let's say, a red, okay? Hit G. Let's move this around to a red. And we're out. And there you go. Look how quickly I'll be able to color things this way. So this is why we have it set up this way, guys. It makes it easier just to get going. All right. So now let's hit Control Z a couple times. Let's get back to our original color, I think, right? There it is. All right. So we're just going to have a green cube over here. This is the rendered view again. This is going to be your modeling view. All right. So we got there. So let's go do a basic just a little quick model of, let's say, a little apartment building. All right. Let's make a little apartment building really quick. It's going to be super easy and super fast. And I'll show you some basics to get going. So we have our new startup scene. And like I said, if you wanted to check out how that works, we can now just go ahead and go new. And it's going to ask you, do you want to save it? Hit don't save. Watch what happens. Boom. It just says it's right back. It's right back to where it was. All right, guys. So